Welcome. This is the IEMT Q&A. It's the 13th of January 2026, which sounds like the future. I've been submitted some questions in advance, which I'm going to go through. And like I say, if you do have any, please put them here. And if you're watching this on replay, please put your questions into the replays wherever you see them, and I'll do my best to answer them in a future session. Okay, so this is quite an interesting one. Does IEMT use bilateral stimulation as EMDR? And how many sessions are enough as a protocol? EMDR says 12 to 16 is enough roughly. Thanks. Okay, so does IEMT use bilateral stimulation? I don't think so. Now, there is research going on with IEMT, or there was research. I don't know what the conclusions of this research has been. I know on the website, the association website, there are some links that you can look at with it's the University of Stuttgart, I believe. So bilateral stimulation is, from what I understand, more of the sort of the pseudoscience world. I don't know if there's any research proving that, bilateral stimulation is an actual real thing, or if it's like a model that people use. Essentially, what bilateral stimulation means, for those people who don't know, is that you have two hemispheres of your brain, your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere. And by using a tone, a stimulus, or an eye movement, it goes between these two hemispheres, which allows the two hemispheres to sync up and create basically harmony within the brain, and resolutions are then come forth. So, as far as I know, we don't claim that IEMT uses bilateral stimulation. I don't. I'm going to answer another question a bit about, which kind of follows on from this. How many sessions are needed with IEMT? Well, when I see somebody, I will usually see somebody for between 2 and 4 sessions. So I always do 2 sessions with somebody a week apart. And then I do a review to see if we need to go further. It really depends on what the issue is, because every client's different. If you have somebody who has witnessed something really horrible, it's a one-off thing, and it's just kind of bothering them, then that's quite straightforward. That's like a 1 or 2 session thing, okay? If somebody's got complex PTSD and has a lot of needs, and they're not functioning very well in life, well, I don't know how many sessions they'll need. I know that IEMT is not really designed to be a weekly protocol. It's too much. It's too heavy going, really, as it's doing it every week. But IEMT works really well with coaching and therapy and other approaches, including hypnotherapy and stuff like that. So the pure IEMT sessions is usually 2 sessions, up to 4 sessions. But I work with a lot of therapists and different clinicians of all different backgrounds, and they will work with people for sometimes 10 or 12 sessions. But that's not just doing IEMT, that's doing other stuff as well. So usually 2 sessions of pure IEMT, more sessions including different things. Please give in detail and based in psychological point of view, what's happening during client practice, but during client practicing the IEMT by his coach, what's happening inside his brain? Okay. I don't know. Nobody really knows at the moment. Yes, there have been doing brain scans before and after IEMT sessions, so we do have a bit of an idea of what's kind of happening before and after. But what is actually happening on a neurological or biological level whilst we're doing the eye movements, I don't think we are at a position where we can say this is what's definitely happening. This is the mechanism. What we can offer is offer observations of what's happening to the client and how they're reporting the problem and the structure of the issue. Now, what I believe is happening is a form of reprocessing of deconsolidation and reconsolidation. I've spoken to a lot of people about this. I've spoken to a neuroscientist about this. I've spoken to doctors and psychologists. And what the observable changes are in the client is that the client comes out of the memory or the memories and is able to observe the memory with time progression from a position of who they are now, not who they were. that allows the client to automatically update their reactions and responses to certain stimulus, people, situations, and scenarios. And it allows them to have better emotional control, emotional and cognitive balance in present day. So it's not trying to replace one emotion with another. So with EMDR, for example, it works on cognition. So you have a negative and a positive cognition, and it uses the same eye movement. I don't know quite how that works, but so you'll start with the negative cognition, and it might be I am ugly or whatever, and they will bring that down to zero. Then they will start boosting another one up from 0 to 7 of believing the opposite, like I am beautiful, I should imagine, and you'll try and bring that up to try and replace the original cognition. With IEMT, we're not trying to replace anything. We're trying to create a perceptual shift within the client. And so the thing doesn't bother them anymore. And we're also obviously looking at the patterns of chronicity. So the eye movements form up, a large part of IEMT, but it's also the other things as well that really kind of go with IEMT, such as the episodic time and the peace acts as well, which creates a suite of tools that we use with clients. So I cannot give, if anybody wants to give an in-depth analysis or representation of what's actually going on, please do, because it's beyond my knowledge and expertise to actually say what's actually happening. What I think is happening, again, is a process called deconsolidation and reconsolidation. And what I think is happening is that when a client accesses a memory, an imprint, and when you then move the eyes, I believe it stimulates the limbic system and it's reprocessed to a degree. And then those pieces are then put back together and put back into long-term storage through the amygdala and the hippocampus once again. And I believe that's what's happening. And speaking to a lot of people, that seems to be sort of the consensus. But I don't speak on behalf of the association or anybody else. That's just what I think is happening. Hi, I have a question. In demos during some consultations, I'm noticing that some people don't experience any visual representation when accessing a memory. How do you approach IEMT in those cases? In fact, I've got a very similar one as well, actually, coming along. Uh, I, I'm noticing that some people don't experience any visual representation when accessing a memory. How would you approach IEMT in those cases? I would say that that client is not really suitable for IEMT. Just they're not. If they can't access memory and have visual representation, it's the visual representation that the client has to hold on to and having their eyes move to create the change. So this is why I do a demo with people on a consultation. And if I don't get any change in the consultation, then I don't offer them IMT sessions. I might offer them hypnotherapy or something else, or another set of tools I can use. But I'm not going to, yeah, because some people just don't sort of visualize really. And so it's very, very hard to therefore work with that. So I'm not, it's basically like sort of square pegs and round holes, isn't it? I'm not going to try and force the person. Some people, just an absolute dream to work with. They're very visual and they really, really, some people don't visualize at all, or some people can't connect in with emotion and stuff. So therefore, personally, I would suggest that IEMT is not a suitable protocol for them. Uh, Oh, okay. No, this okay. And what do you say to someone who's had zero shift after working twice on the same memory during the demo? Okay, so a couple of things going on here. Either, well, the top reason or the top thing might be they are not suitable for IMT. All right, that might always be the right thing. If they are holding a representation, chances are they weren't holding the memory properly. Or they were trying to hold on to the feeling. That's quite a common thing. Or they were just trying to follow your finger and they weren't thinking about the memory. So these are all kind of common things you want to check. Also, people who are looking for the problem remaining rather than what's changing. So what I would do is I'd be very specific about, is it exactly the same or has it changed in some way? Because generally it will have changed in some way. And if it hasn't, it hasn't. Then IEMT is not for them. So if I do a couple of rounds of eye movements with somebody, and if the emotion is still as strong and everything like that, the only other thing that you can really do there is, first of all, make sure they are following your fingers and holding the memory. Because some people say it's confusing. You go, yeah, I know. So the other thing you can do is use that emotion and just go into the K pattern by going back to the imprint of that emotion. So that's what I would do in that instance. When working with someone, do you ever feel it's important for them to be standing whilst doing the eye movements versus sitting? Is their posture important? Um, no. So when I work with people in person, they're sat down and I'm stood up. I can remember Andy saying at one point, when they're sat up and looking up, it's a good thing. Looking up, literally looking up, kind of changes things. Um, you have to do whatever's comfortable. I wouldn't have them stood up. I don't see any benefit of having somebody stood up. If I'm working with somebody in person, I'm either going to be sat down and they're sat down, or they're going to be sat down and I'm going to be stood up. If you watch my demo that I've got online with that girl Jodie, go to IEMTpractitionertraining.com, click on IEMT demo, and you'll see the video of me working with a client, and you see me stood up actually doing the session. Um, so no, I won't have them set up. When I'm working with somebody online, I actually have I have them come sit and hold their head, and then go back to where they were to relax, then come sit, hold their head, go back to where they were. And so I would actually get them to go between those two positions. So when they're sat forward holding their head, that's when we're doing the eye movements, and sit back, relax, let things process, let things actually flow, and see what changes come about from that. The most important thing is that they're in a position that's comfortable for them. Does wearing glasses or contact lenses have an impact on the eye movement work? So it can actually. So when you're wearing glasses, when you're taking somebody's focus beyond the lens of the glass, it can change the focus. It can really change it, and it can cause them to pop out of what you're doing. So, excuse me. Also, if you're working with somebody online, if they're wearing glasses, they'll often get a reflection of the screen, and it makes it very hard to see their eyes. And you obviously need to see their eyes to look for the deviations. So, what I would suggest is if they can do the session without wearing glasses, go for that. If they can see your finger, oh, that's not mirrored. That's weird. I would do it without glasses. I just find it's easier to do so. Contact lenses, I've never actually had an issue with. I wear contact lenses. I'm wearing them now, right? It makes no restriction. All contact lenses nowadays are soft contact lenses. If you had hard contact lenses, doing a lot of eye movement may have caused an issue in the past. I don't think it will cause an issue, to be perfectly honest. But glasses, yes. If you can do it without glasses, that will tend to work better than with glasses. I think that's all the questions. When's the next IEMT training? So the next IEMT training with myself is going to be in February. Let me just get the dates for you now. So it's going to be February the 21st and 22nd. So February 21st and 22nd, and then it's going to be the 28th and 29th of March. If you have any questions, please stick them in the chat for me. I've got a few minutes. So if you have any questions, please do stick them down for me. And just put a new post to my group, which I'll read. Any other questions? Well, let me see if there's any more on the WhatsApp group. Oh, so I'm looking at the wrong thing there. I think I've answered everything. I think we're good. Anybody got any last questions? Please put them into the comments now. There will be a Q&A next week. I'll just double check I am here. Yep, yeah, I'm here. So there will be a Q&A next week as well. If I don't answer yours today, I always try and get all the questions that have been asked during the week, and I always do them on the Q&A session. People keep asking about the membership site, stuff like that. I am working on all of this. Building sites, it takes a while. It's not just the site, it's all the automations and the back-end coding, which takes a long time. But it is coming. It is coming, definitely. Okay. All right then, guys. I will see you soon. Thank you very much once again, and Happy New Year.